Monsters and Memories is just a clone of EverQuest 1, and why would I play that game if I can just go play EverQuest 1 right now and it's completed? I don't have to wait for it to be finished. You know how many times I've read a comment like that? Anybody who's covered this game as long as I have, I'm sure in just about every video they've ever uploaded, they get that same exact comment over and over again. And I can understand why people make connections to EverQuest 1 because, well, this is a game that's very much based off of an old school MMORPG formula. And people who say, well, why would I wait for this game to be developed? I can just go play EverQuest. I think that's a little bit of a cop-out. It seems like that's not a very good argument because I could say, well, why would you play EverQuest when you can just go play Ultima Online that came out first? Why would you play Ultima Online when you can just go play a MUD? Why would you play a MUD when you can just go back and play Dungeons and Dragons with your friends, pencil and paper style? So it becomes this ridiculous argument where it's like, oh, I can play this game now. And yeah, well, that game is finished. It's completed now. I mean, they still come out with expansions, but let's be honest. Everybody that's here, well, for the most part, are the kind of people that like time lock progression. Myself, I love EverQuest Online Adventures, and unfortunately, that game never got past its first expansion. It had an expansion called Underfoot that was coming out, but it got canceled. Now, many of you are already aware Underfoot was then folded over into EverQuest 1 to my frustration. But that's just the way it is. It kind of helped to keep the game pure in a way. It didn't. We never got the expansion that everybody hated. That never happened for EverQuest Online Adventures. It lasted 9 years, and the game still has a very vanilla and pure feel to it. But that's what most people who play EverQuest, they want to do. They want to play the game during its glory days. And this is a game that's trying to go back to those glory days. And I have to give a shout out right now to Slayheim because he touched on this as well, and I agree with everything that he said in his video. I'm going to be linking this for you guys to go check out. Give him a thumbs up, show him some love, tell him that EQA Nostalgia sent you, because this man has an awesome channel, and he's just a really chill guy. But he's absolutely right. I agree with everything that he says in this video, and I felt the same way for a long time. There's more to this game than just reskinned EverQuest. Yes, it's using those foundations, but it's a lot more than that. It's in a new engine. The lighting is incredible. Being able to look across the desert to Night Harbor and see the lights flickering. When it starts to rain, there's just these little details where if there's not a lot of lighting, you don't see rain because, I mean, surprise, you can't really see rain in the dark. But as you approach the lights, you can see that there is an ambient light that's lighting up the rain around it. These are things that you're not going to find in EverQuest 1. And there have been efforts to actually port that game over to a different engine and make it run a little bit better and have all the modern bells and whistles and whatnot of a more recent MMO just to spruce up the graphics and whatnot. But I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in Monsters and Memories because this is a unique game. It is its own thing. EverQuest is finished. It's done. Like I said, it's a solved game. So for a lot of people, if you want to go back to that, what I would say is, well, if you haven't done it already, that's great. But most people have done it already. And this is a game that is going to be brand new. There are going to be secrets to find out. Oh, dude. It's a false floor, bro. Oh, man, please tell me I'm the first person to discover this. I highly doubt it. Somebody probably did it on stream, like one of the developers or something. Bro. I love this game, dude. I need you in my life. There's going to be new lore in this game. There's going to be, obviously, new cities, new everything to explore, finding out what drops what, etc. It's going to take years for people to, quote-unquote, solve this game. And even then, there's going to be more content coming out. And hopefully they don't get on the slippery slope of, hey, what if we listen to this section of our audience who really wants a map in game? hey, what if we listen to this section of the audience who really doesn't like the darkness? That's usually how it starts, by the way. Every time I tell devs, because I've seen this happen before, I tell them, don't cave in on the darkness factor. I've seen many games do this, and it's the first step towards catering to a more casual audience. And I've noticed people get frustrated in my comments. They say, well, this is a community, and I've seen this with the Pantheon community as well in the Steam forums. This is a community that's never going to grow. You guys are never going to grow, because every time somebody says they want some quality of life, you act like a cult and you jump all over them, and you're so defensive. How come you're so defensive about it? Well, the reason why people are defensive about that is we know that it's a slippery slope. We watched what happened in World of Warcraft and the genre, period, over time. It slowly added more and more quality of life to where it basically completely took everything that the series or the genre was known for, which was relying on the community and having an adventure, a scary world that you didn't want to go out into alone. And if you did, you wanted to make sure you made some preparations. You didn't want to just dive into it. And this goes way back to JRPGs. You know, you would want to fight certain bosses. You'd want to make sure you had the right gear, or you'd want to make sure that you know what you're bringing the right spells or whatever. I can think of playing like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest back in the day and knowing, hey, if I go into this fight not prepared, I'm going to get whooped. So having to prepare for what's ahead is something that it's really ingrained into the RPG genre. I mean, if you go back to, once again, tabletop Dungeons and Dragons, it's the same thing. You have to be prepared for what's ahead of you. Well, you want to try. Obviously, there are surprises along the way. Not that I ever really got into tabletop RPGs or anything, but I do recognize that that's a thing. So the more preparation you have in a game, like, for example, having to bring a candle, which later on you can upgrade to a torch, and later on you can get a lantern, it adds to the problem solving of the game. And people want to take those problems out of the game. And that's when you start to lose the immersion. That's the first thing to go. Immersion takes a hit. If you get rid of the darkness, what happens at night? It's not as immersive. It's really weird running around in a game, and it's just as light as daytime during the night, but it's a different color. I've never liked that in games. As a matter of fact, I've tried to, with basically every game I play on PC, mod that away because I can't stand it. It's like you've got a slightly dimmer sun in the sky when the moon comes out. And it just destroys that immersion. You can't get into the atmosphere of, wow, it's nighttime. Same thing with storms. A lot of times you'll see storms in games and they kind of make it so it's thin, probably for performance sake. But I like heavy storms in games. When I played The Division, I've mentioned this before, and there's a blizzard and you're having to you can't even see across the street. And there's enemies everywhere. And I'm speaking on the survival mode mostly here. That game was a thrill. Specifically that game mode. And that game mode is beloved for a reason, because you're on the edge of your seat the whole time. It's just a gripping experience. And as you start to remove things like the darkness, and you add a map, and you add all these other things into the game, it starts to take away from that sense of adventure. When I first walked around Night Harbor, I was completely lost. And I was frustrated by it. You can go back and see the first video when I play tested this game. I mentioned that the missus had to come in and say, hey, what are you doing? You need to slow down. You know, it's not a race. And the reason why I was feeling like it was a race is because they only had a couple days to test the game out. Not even. I think that test was only a few hours. So I wanted to get out there and do everything all at once. This is not a game where you're going to be doing that. This is a game where you're kind of living in that world. You have to slow down. And some people don't like that. They want to speed run to end game, and really, I've never really understood that mentality. People who want to min-max and they want to get to rating immediately, and I'm all about the journey. So that is so completely alien to me. It's almost like reading a strategy guide for a game and completely ruining it back in the day. Like people would play Resident Evil or Tomb Raider, and they'd have a guide in front of them telling them everything that's coming. And it completely ruins that sense of immersion and that sense of achievement. And I think that's, unfortunately, a lot of people do that. This is a game where you have to pump the brakes. You're not going to know where you're going right away. But if you don't have a map, you're going to remember, oh, I have to take a left over here. Oh, this vendor's over there. Oh, I remember that building. That means that this is over here. Or I take a left and go down here, and that's the bank. And not too far from the bank is the tannery. And if I go past that, I can get to the other side of town and go out the other gate. And at first, it's frustrating. And you do lose some people because of that, unfortunately. These are some of the qualities of EverQuest that you're going to have in a game that's trying to be old school. And yes, there are some developers from the original EverQuest that are developing this game, but there's other devs as well. And this is echoing, I believe Slayheim said this also, there are people from other games that are working on this game. So, yes, while its foundation is definitely heavily rooted in EverQuest, the UI and a lot of this stuff, you're going to notice, wow, this is from that time. It doesn't make it a clone. It is doing its own thing. And this game has a beautiful hand-drawn art style. I read a comment from somebody saying they think they took assets from Pantheon of all things. And I'm like, no. I watched them create this game from the ground up. From the time it was just capsule people walking around. And I've talked about this a few times. The beauty of this game is it just started as Sean was streaming, the lead developer was streaming, talking about, hey, what kind of game would you guys like to see? And they said, well, we can do that. And people said, you should do that. You should totally do that. It was just a bunch of dudes talking about MMOs and their love for the genre. And all of a sudden they said, hey, we'll give it a shot. We're just going to volunteer our time and try to make a game. And that's what they've done.
This is definitely one of the craziest projects I've been on in terms of just like, holy shit, we've got a game, we're entering beta, we're going to get it ready for early access, we're going to go live. And we just kind of like willed this thing into existence out of nowhere, based on conversations with you guys in chat 5 years ago. And here it is, right? Like, it went from basically being us bullshitting on stream about what we like about old MMOs. It wasn't like we just sat there and like, hey, we talked about this on stream for quite a while. And we started talking about like, what do we like? And there was enough of you that seemed to like the old stuff. And we're like, all right, well, let's just start making some shit. And that was it. Like, it really was, all right, let's just start, I don't know. We started by making, Ollie made it, grabbed Unity, made it multiplayer, started working on tooling. Nick started like adding in stuff. I started adding in stuff. I started like making stuff in Blender and animating Capsule Men. Look at that dude's animation back there. You can look at the sense of urgency. You can tell that guard is moving. Look at that bat.
And they've gotten it to beta, and in 3 months, it's going to be on early access. I know that they're buzzing from that. They're nervous. They're working their asses off. So I do get frustrated when I see people who try to reduce this game into nothing but an EverQuest 1 clone. Because it definitely is not. There are very obvious similarities here. But like I said, try to make an old school MMORPG without any similarities to EverQuest 1. You can't do it. Go back and look at Vanilla WoW. You're going to see a lot of EverQuest. And as it went along, they tamed down the darkness. They created all these different, you can fly now and you don't have to do this anymore. And, I think they're at the point where the game basically can play itself. You press like one button and it does your rotation because it just got so bloated and long in the tooth and it's just gone in so many wrong directions. But it's very frustrating to see that, especially when I see how much these guys have busted their ass without accepting a dime for over 5 years. They have been dedicating their time. And now finally, that was an unintentional poetry, by the way. finally they're starting to see where, hey, we're going to be able to start asking some money for this game, and we can actually get paid for all this stuff we've been doing. And it seems like the comments are increasing. This is just an EverQuest 1 clone. Well, I don't believe that that's accurate whatsoever, because the art style in this game, some people don't like it. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I'm going to be talking about that in a future video probably. Now, in this video, I mentioned that they have a clear vision for what they're doing, and you'll see the clear vision. Copy everything about EQ and make it harder. Nostalgia is bad for the soul, to which obviously I could only reply with... You don't be talking shit about nostalgia over here, people, okay? I love to read your comments, but you're taking a giant crap all over my channel if you just reduce nostalgia down to something that's bad for the soul. I mean, you know, living in the past definitely can be toxic, right? You shouldn't just live in the past completely, but this game is doing something new. It's doing a lot of things new. And just because it's using an old formula doesn't make it a clone of EverQuest 1. It's going to be doing its own thing. It's going to have its own quests. It already does. It has its own identity, its own races, and yes, those races are actually, wow, they're copying Tolkien. How dare you do that? How dare you have an MMORPG that has Tolkien-esque races in it? Well, we're just going to have to tear it all down. It doesn't mean anything anymore. So this is what I mean. It's just a ridiculous argument to just try to reduce this as nothing but an EverQuest clone and wave it off and go play like a TLP server for the 5 millionth time. I think that people are going to be surprised how many newcomers jump in with this game. You're going to see a lot of WoW babies, as we affectionately call them, right? People who started with WoW and they don't really know the struggle of an old school MMO. Well, after hardcore happened, you know, those guys, they've already got one foot in this genre, whether they know it or not. And I do believe this game has the potential to really blow up. And I mentioned in my previous video that Final Fantasy XI out of nowhere started pulling in tons of people to where they had to close the server down to new players because they were getting swamped. So there is this resurgence of people who want to go back and they want to experience what made the genre awesome in the first place. They want to get back to that community feel. So it's not just people who are here for the nostalgia. There are a lot of people who are coming into this for the first time. And I've noticed it even with EverQuest Online Adventures. I've pulled a ton of people onto the Sandstorm server who never played an EverQuest game before, and they've loved it. And I've pulled a lot of people from the EverQuest 1 community, and they've said, my God, I can't believe I didn't know this existed, or I did know it existed and I passed it off as nothing but console slop. Nothing but, console peasant garbage. How wrong was I? So it's pretty cool to see that happen as well. I really wish EQA would get on its own client. Right now it's a pain in the butt to set up. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's a game that really, I do believe, would have a really solid chance at a good strong player base if it were to come out on its own client. But yeah, there's definitely something to be said about newcomers coming into the game, and those of us who want to experience it again. It's not just nostalgia. This is something that I actually have fun with. I know people have a hard time understanding that. I've had people mention years ago, wow, you're playing EverQuest 1, or oh, you're playing EQA. Wow, man, kudos to you. I don't know how you do it. That's rough. And I looked at that comment like, huh? I'm not doing it because it's rough or it's some sort of crazy challenge. I'm doing it because I genuinely love that formula. I love that slower pace. I love the fact that I have to rely on people. Your class identity is unique. Not everybody has like a similar feel, right? Not everybody has to have like a CC ability because, otherwise it's not fair in the battlegrounds, etc. There's a lot of things about modern MMOs that I don't like. I still do enjoy them from time to time, but it's not just nostalgia. I've had people tell me that about EverQuest Online Adventures. I've been talking about that game for 15 years and it was gone for like 10. I had multiple people tell me, man, if that game ever comes back, you're gonna play it for like an hour or two, and you're gonna do the thing. You think you want it, but you don't. That we all remember from Blizzard, and it's not true. Sometimes that is true, and I've posted about that in my community, saying, hey, you ever play a game and you realize you didn't really want to play that game, you just wanted to go back to that time. That does happen, so I can see why people think that. There have been many times I'll fire up something and be like, man, that game was so awesome, and I get like 10 hours into like a 40-hour story, and I realize it's not hitting like it used to. I just want to be 17 again with all my friends and around me, and I can't do that. So that is a thing. But when it comes to the MMORPG formula, that classic formula, I still love it, man. I love it. It's part of my soul, right? This is something I've been doing for a long time. And maybe it's not that way for everybody. I don't know. This video is kind of a mess. It's just my random thoughts rattling around, so I apologize. If you guys are still hanging in there, you're real ones, man. I want to hear from you down in the comments about this, because this is something that I hear a lot from people. It's just that EverQuest 1 clone. Oh, it's just nostalgia. You're not going to stick with it. Well, that's not true. On both counts, it's not true. This is a brand new adventure, and I'm having a blast with the closed beta. I cannot wait for early access, and nothing gets wiped, and I know that what I'm doing, I'm going to have it for years. I'm just going to stick with it. Am I going to take breaks? Definitely. You should take breaks. You should play other games as well. But watching this game grow from what it was in the past to what it has become, I'm incredibly proud of what these guys have been able to accomplish. I think the game is gorgeous. I think it's fun. And I think that a lot of people are selling themselves short if they don't give it a chance, and just trying to pass it off as nothing but nostalgia bait, or nothing but a carbon copy of EverQuest 1. But at this point, I want to turn it over to you guys. I want to hear what you think about it down in the comments section. Smash the like button if you like this video. Subscribe, click that notification bell. God bless, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.
Nostalgia. It's delicate, but potent.